He was a husband and father who fancied himself a pirate.
All he did was lie and cheat and steal, and ultimately became a killer.
The bounty he pursued was a 50-foot fishing trawler used for pleasure sailing.
We're selling the boat, we're just showing them how to work some of the equipment, and we'll be back in a couple hours. And nobody ever heard from them again.
So what exactly happened on board the Well-Deserved?
You know, we're not going to get caught because no body, no crime.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Newport Beach, California. This haven of pleasure and comfort was turned upside down by criminals who twisted a simple financial transaction into a scandal of selfishness and greed. For the killers, it was a short con with an easy setup, and all began on a bright November day in this ritzy coastal village.
Newport Beach is really a beautiful place. The homes are beautiful, the people are beautiful, people have a lot of money, and people are very into self-grooming, cosmetic surgery, wearing nice clothes and jewelry, and of course that draws the people who are looking to take advantage of OPM, other people's money.
In Newport Beach, murders, thankfully, are relatively rare, but when they happen, they tend to be on the spectacular side. You see a lot of conspiracies to commit murder for money relative to other types of murders that you see in other cities.
Like many residents of this area, Thomas and Jackie Hawks chose to enjoy their retirement years kicking back in the sun and sand along the Pacific Ocean.
Thomas and Jackie Hawks were a lovely couple. Tom was a retired probation officer. He also was an entrepreneur, and he, owned a bar, and he'd owned restaurants. And Jackie was just a bubbly, lovely woman who was just super friendly. They had so many friends. Everybody loved them.
Tom had a dream of sailing off into the sunset, like a lot of people do. So that was their plan, only he really did it. He bought a boat, and they joined this kind of expat retired community that cruises around the Sea of Cortez in northern Mexico. And they took the boat down there, and they lived on it for 2 years.
The boat was a fishing trawler named the Well-Deserved. And though the Hawks loved life on the water, they decided it was time for a new adventure in life. So Tom placed an advertisement in a magazine offering their boat for sale.
It wasn't long before they received a phone call from a guy named Skylar De Leon, who was a former child actor. He rolled in at a Dodge Viper, appeared to have a lot of money, and they began negotiating for the sale of the Well-Deserved.
Skylar De Leon and his wife Jennifer were looking for a new adventure as well, and buying a boat seemed like a good bet.
They had one very young baby, and she was pregnant with baby number 2. They appeared as sort of the all-American couple.
So Skylar appeared to have it all, but was it a struggle to get there?
His dad forced him to be a child actor. He didn't really enjoy it. He couldn't remember his lines, but that's how he got on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
After his short-lived career on television, did he try something different?
He'd been a Marine for about a minute. He went AWOL, and I believe he got a general discharge.
But Tom Hawks, the owner of the Well-Deserved, wasn't squeaky clean either.
He'd bought and sold restaurants, his own bar. He would basically sell his bar to people knowing that they would lose money during the winter because nobody would come to Prescott, Arizona when it was cold, and they would end up losing money and have to sell or give the bar back to Tom.
To sell his boat, Tom decided not to engage a broker. That way, he'd keep more cash in his pocket. And that wasn't his only scheme to save money.
Tom said, look, you pay me $400,000 in cash, but we'll only declare that you paid me $200 so I can save on taxes. So Tom saw himself as a wheeler dealer, but what he was suggesting was actually illegal.
Nevertheless, Skylar was interested, and rounding up that money didn't appear to be a problem for him.
They then went out on a sea trial. Jackie told friends, hey, we're selling the boat, we're just showing them how to work some of the equipment, and we'll be back in a couple hours.
Tom and Jackie Hawks were thrilled. It looked as if they could sell their boat quickly and begin a new chapter in their lives. The trawler departed the marina and headed out to sea with the two couples on their trial run.
And nobody ever heard from them again.
2 weeks went by and the Hawks still hadn't turned up anywhere. The police checked in with Skylar and Jennifer De Leon.
They all said that they purchased the boat, and they had these documents to prove that they had purchased the boat.
Police say Thomas and Jackie Hawks had apparently left town in a hurry. But why hadn't friends or family heard from them?
Most of the time, the investigation leads you to arresting and charging the person who committed the homicide. But every once in a while, you learn other things.
Tom and Jackie Hawks sold their boat, left Newport Beach, and vanished into thin air. Family members alerted the police, who began searching for the couple. It was slow going at first.
We didn't have Tom and Jackie's car, and we hadn't heard from them. We just had information that they had been driving potentially back down into Mexico. Tom and Jackie's phones were pinging just north of the Mexican border at like 2 in the morning, the night that this transaction apparently happened.
So why had the couple departed the area so quickly? No one seemed to know.
So that's what we had for about 2 months. We had this kind of weird story. The family was getting increasingly nervous.
The common denominator amongst all of the people involved in the mystery, the Hawks boat, the well-deserved. What did you find when you took a look at the boat?
We did 2 forensic workups of the boat, and we had nothing. There was no sign of a struggle. There was no blood. We had no sign of foul play. And that was essentially where the investigation sort of landed for a while.
Were the last people to see the Hawks, the couple who bought the boat, Skylar and Jennifer De Leon?
Newport detectives went up and they tracked them down. They were volunteering at a local church in Long Beach, California. And they separated them and they interviewed them. And Skylar basically said, hey, look, I'm a former child actor, but I paid for the boat in cash, and I have a notary public who witnessed the whole thing.
And the notary corroborated the story, telling the police this.
Yes, I signed these papers, I met the Hawks, they signed and I signed, and everything's beautiful.
She had all of these documents that had been signed apparently by Tom and Jackie Hawks. And we sent those back to the FBI, and sure enough, Tom and Jackie had signed them, and their fingerprints were all over the documents, both in ink and just on the actual documents themselves.
Even so, Skylar told police that he had unfinished business with Tom and Jackie Hawks.
These people said that they would teach us how to use the boat, and they haven't done it yet. So when you track them down, can you please have them contact us?
The investigation remained stuck in first gear, but strange situations like this one typically have a lot of secrets lurking in the shadows. So let's take a closer look at the seemingly perfect couple of Skylar and Jennifer De Leon, starting with Skylar.
He was basically taught by his father, who was a felony drug trafficker, how to lie, cheat, and steal. So he had a terrible role model. He grew up trying to take care of his stepmom, who was a recovering drug addict, also couldn't read well. His dad was constantly moving him out of schools. So he grew up with kind of a rough life. When Skylar met Jennifer, everything changed though, because suddenly the two of them together were worse than each of them were apart.
Detectives say Jennifer exacerbated Skylar's worst faults.
Jennifer wanted nice things, and Skylar wanted to give them to her because I think Jennifer was the first person that he ever really loved who loved him, and they got greedy. He wanted boats, he wanted play toys, and he wanted things to do, and a new truck. And Jennifer wanted jewelry, so he got them for her.
And police say all of these wants drove Skylar to some criminal activity.
Turns out he had done almost a year in a local jail facility for a previous armed residential burglary that he did. So that was sort of an attention getter.
Meanwhile, the police made some headway in their investigation. It turned out that Tom and Jackie Hawks had signed over more than just their boat.
We learned that there was also a power of attorney, which made absolutely no sense. That was also signed by Tom and Jackie, which would theoretically give Skylar access to their bank accounts.
Still, there was no clear indication of foul play. Investigators decided it was time to cast a wider net in their search for Tom and Jackie Hawks.
We decided that we needed to sort of alert the general public to this case. So Tom and Jackie's younger son did this whole media blitz trying to get word out that Tom and Jackie were missing. And in the missing poster, they also included their Honda CR-V. And she called Newport and said, hey, that car you're looking for, I'm looking at it right now, and it's in my neighbor's driveway.
Tom and Jackie Hawks owned a Honda CR-V. The vehicle had suddenly appeared in a trailer park outside of Ensenada, Mexico.
Detectives went down there and they knocked on the door, and the family, who's totally innocent, big question, where did you get Tom and Jackie Hawks' car? And they said our friend Skylar De Leon gave it to us. They said they'd never seen Tom and Jackie, and that Skylar came tooling up in that car and gave them the car.
So far, Skylar De Leon had persuaded the police that his purchase of the boat was legitimate. But his tale of an innocent transaction began to crumble when police revisited the boat, which might have been the scene of a crime.
We discovered there was a missing anchor on the boat. Now, that was huge because if people are murdered on a boat, one of the ways to get rid of the bodies maybe was tying them to an anchor and throwing the anchor overboard.
So once the ball got rolling, I assume the investigation reignited very quickly.
We also flipped the notary public, who after like 5 interviews finally said, okay, I didn't actually witness the transaction. Jennifer and Skylar paid me cash to backdate all of these documents. So that was a huge break.
In addition, several accomplices came out of the woodwork. Alonzo McChain had witnessed the sale. A former correctional officer who socialized with Skylar De Leon, he knew the entire story of what happened on the Well-Deserved, but was he willing to snitch on his friends?
Alonzo, at this point, had fled to Mexico, and I negotiated with his lawyer.
So to entice Alonzo to talk, there were 2 types of immunity you could offer him, right?
There's use immunity, where somebody comes and gives testimony or speaks to detectives, and we agree not to use their statements against them, but they could still theoretically be prosecuted. Then there's transactional immunity, which means if they tell us what actually happened, they will not be prosecuted for anything, but they've got to be truthful.
You offered use immunity. So in other words, you were basically saying, have your client come back from Mexico and trust us to do right by him after he testifies.
So Alonzo came and turned himself in, and Alonzo told us every sordid, horrific detail of that murder.
Skylar and Jennifer, it appears, planned this whole thing. They came up with the idea to get the Hawks to sign power of attorney documents. Alonzo was just there because he could buy tasers because he had worked in a jail, and I guess you need to have some sort of certification for that.
Detectives say another accomplice, C.J. Kennedy, joined the group as they set sail on the day of the transaction. That Kennedy said he was an accountant, but he was actually brought on board for his physical capabilities.
They had him change his clothes. He put on a green sweater. He had this long braided beard like you see the gangsters have, and he rolled it up and he tucked it under his chin so that you couldn't tell that he had this gang goatee. And he walked in and he looked like the part, which was, hey, this is my accountant.
With the boat safely at sea, out of touch, out of earshot, and out of sight of anyone who might notice what was happening, police say Skylar De Leon kicked his plan into gear.
Skylar told Tom and Jackie that he wanted to go underneath the hull to check it out and make sure it was in good shape. Then in the meantime, Kennedy pretended to be seasick. He went down to the stateroom, he lay down on the bed in the stateroom so that this was a plan so that he would be downstairs and Skylar could join him. And so Tom went downstairs with them and Alonzo stayed upstairs with Jackie. Now the plan was they wanted to separate them so that they could blindfold gag them and handcuff them so that they could basically force them to sign power of attorney documents, and that's exactly what they did.
Detectives say realizing that Skylar had set him up, Tom Hawks defended himself, but C.J. Kennedy also threw a mean punch and won the fistfight. And realizing that they had little time left, Tom and Jackie spent their final moments next to each other.
And while they were lying on the bed, Tom was trying to comfort Jackie, and this was one of the things that was the most touching. He got himself into position so that he could stroke her hand because she was so scared and so terrified.
Jackie Hawks tried to reason with her kidnappers.
She pleaded with Skylar, and she said, "Skylar, why are you doing this? We trusted you, and I don't hurt us."
But time had run out.
They dragged an anchor from the other end of the boat, which was attached to a chain, and I'm sure Tom and Jackie must have known that something was coming that was terribly wrong, because you could hear that chain dragging on the wood and the anchor.
According to detectives, Skylar and his crew tied the Hawks to the anchor and let go.
And they were basically pulled across the boat and through this opening in the railing, and they basically were sucked under the water with the weight of the anchor to the bottom of the ocean, where it was about 3,800 feet.
Tied them to an anchor, begging for their lives, and threw them into the ocean.
It must have been just the most incredibly horrible, horrible way to die.
After Alonzo McChain provided these details, police arrested everyone involved. At trial, Skylar's wife Jennifer was handed 2 life sentences without parole. C.J. Kennedy was sent to death row, and Alonzo McChain headed to prison for at least 20 years. And Skylar De Leon? With the families of the victims looking on, Skylar received the death penalty for his crimes. And police say it turned out that greed wasn't the only motive in this gruesome story of death at sea. They say Skylar De Leon desperately needed money to complete a surgical procedure he had started.
He also wanted to get gender reassignment surgery, so he put $15,000 down, and he didn't have any way to pay for the rest of it.
Captured before he could pull cash from his victim's bank account, Skylar and the buddies he brought aboard to help him would never see the windfall he hoped to steal.
He thought he was going to make a whole lot of money, when in fact, each of Alonzo McChain, Skylar De Leon, and C.J. Kennedy, they only walked away with $1,300 each, which they found in cash on the boat.
In the end, Skylar and his crew all went to prison, where police say they had more than enough time to mull over one simple question. Why did they think they could get away with it?
So you have a really nice couple. Tom and Jackie Hawks were genuinely nice people. They were adored by their family. They had a lot of close friends. And the plan was kill them, take their boat, get into their bank accounts, and live happily ever after. That was Skylar and Jennifer's plan. And it was utterly ruthless.
Tied to an anchor and thrown overboard, Tom and Jackie Hawks drowned 3,800 feet below the surface. All for Skylar De Leon and his group of criminals to obtain nothing. Nothing to show for all of their effort to steal from a couple who only wanted to enjoy their golden years. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. When buying and selling big-ticket items like a home, a car, or a boat, it may be tempting to cut corners and save time and money, but this can put your finances and physical safety at risk. To help reduce these threats, operate through a licensed agent who can screen and identify legitimate buyers and sellers and help you avoid potential fraud. An agent can assure both parties have secure contracts and financing, and that the sale is done ethically and legally. This safety net might just save your money and your life. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe. A doting mother snatched off the street.
She was abducted from where her car was parked. That's where it all started.
Her kidnapper left no trace.
It's very difficult, and the challenges are just incredible.
Detectives were in a race against time to bring Vicki Belk home.
It literally and figuratively was a dark time.
We didn't give up on it, and we continued working through it.
They feared the only way to solve her case were if the kidnapper attacked again.
The particular violent nature, of course, was shocking. Obviously, it's a monster. I mean, just pure evil.
He realized at that moment that his past had come back to catch up to him.
What went through your mind when you learned what had happened to your mother?
It's just senseless and horrific in every aspect. Very devastating, horrible. Just to think at such a young age you could have such evil in your spirit is mind-boggling.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Washington, D.C. It was here in our nation's bustling capital that a 28-year-old disappeared into thin air. The news devastated the victim's family and left police scrambling to answer difficult questions. But law enforcement remained laser-focused in their quest for justice, and in the end would find themselves face-to-face with a ruthless predator. As the sun began to rise over the Potomac River, a troubling call came into police from James Hill. He was frantic and said his girlfriend, 28-year-old Vicki Belk, was missing.
She did not come home from work, and when she did not return from work, her boyfriend immediately became concerned, started calling family and friends, and attempted to look for her. However, he couldn't find her.
James said the last time he had seen Vicki was the morning before. For Vicki's son Lamont, who was just 7 years old at the time, that moment has remained etched in his memory.
But I remember her leaving, and it was just a normal morning that she was going to work. It's something that stayed with me. Even now, you just don't know when that last time will be. Never did we imagine that we wouldn't see her again.
Vicki's boyfriend said it had been a routine commute into their office.
They drove to the parking lot at the Metro in Washington, D.C., and they each went to work at the Department of Agriculture.
Vicki told him she was going to run some errands at lunchtime.
We know she made it to work. We know she had lunch with a friend. After that, it's kind of up in the air as to what she did. We know at some point she left work, and then from there, we don't know.
As the minutes ticked by, Vicki's family prayed for her safe return.
She's going to just show back up. She's going to come home.
Authorities sprung into action, and her missing persons report was released to the media. But the following day, their search ended in the worst way possible when her lifeless body was discovered 30 miles south of Washington, D.C.
She was found by a young man who was riding his bicycle, having to look over, saw her laying on the side of the road.
When officers arrived, it was clear she had been the victim of a vicious assault.
Vicki was found about 20 feet into the wood line off the side of the road. She was found lying on her back. Her dress had been pulled up. Some of her other clothing was found next to her. You could tell that an assault had taken place, and she was shot in the side of her head.
Detectives scoured the scene for clues.
It was mostly just her personal belongings. She had her clothing and the jewelry she was wearing that was recovered at the time.
You were only 7 years old at the time. How did you even begin to comprehend your loss?
I just remember just a lot of crying, a lot of hurt. It was just, as you can imagine, just a lot of emotion and pain. Life changed forever for all of us. A cloud of grief and just a horrible time. That cloud never left. It just always stayed there. I mean, we as a family, as a community, we lived on. But I mean that pain and grief were always fresh and present.
The fact that Vicki's jewelry hadn't been taken stood out to police. They wondered if the man who had reported her missing had been responsible for the crime.
The first person to look at is people that are closest to him, such as her boyfriend.
And what their investigation uncovered would take them down an even darker path.
We are always looking for new technologies and new tricks of the trade. We were always close, but close doesn't get you a name.
Detectives investigating Vicki Belk's murder looked to the medical examiner's report to bring the case more clearly into focus.
She'd been shot one time in the head.
The cruelty involved in the attack was especially shocking.
There was definitely the element of how she was murdered, the sexual assault, and then the fact that she was shot, killed, and then left on the side of the road. The particular violent nature, of course, was shocking.
Detectives questioned her boyfriend, looking for any holes in his story.
When they contacted James Hill, he was cooperative, met with him several times, allowed them to search his car, search the apartment. There was no evidence whatsoever to indicate James Hill had any involvement in her disappearance.
Detectives spanned out in the metro station's parking lot, searching for a witness, but no one had seen the moment when Vicky had crossed paths with her killer.
We believe that she got her car and was subsequently abducted when she went to her car at the metro parking lot.
Police wondered why she had been taken to Charles County.
Since she disappeared in Washington, D.C. and was found in Charles County, which is about 30 miles south of where we believe she was abducted from, we're trying to find a relationship because Vicky didn't have any connections in the area where she was found.
The pain of Vicky Belk's murder was almost unbearable for her family. The hard-working single mother had achieved so much in her short life. Vicky's parents had been staunch civil rights activists and had fought for Vicky and her sister to be amongst the first group of Black students to integrate the Alexandria, Virginia school system.
The reason my grandmother wanted them to be part of these schools and part of this movement was because there were better education opportunities for them.
As a young mother, Vicky instilled her love for education in her son.
I remember her being a big proponent of education. It was just a general sense of passion, I guess, that she provided in terms of education. And it stayed with me amazingly long since she passed away.
She also shared with him a deep devotion to her faith.
My mother, she worked at the Department of Agriculture in D.C., but she also worked as the church clerk, essentially. She recognized the importance of service, and she had great faith, and that she's instilled all of that, not just in me, but those who loved her.
After your mother's murder, how did you even find the strength to move forward?
But really it was the faith that she left me. She had really instilled in me at a young age that understanding and belief that she was okay in a different place. Even though she wasn't with us and with me. And I really leaned on that as best as I could.
Shortly after Vicky's murder, a string of other violent assaults left the community paralyzed with fear.
There are several other cases in Washington, D.C. that had somewhat similar circumstances, and investigators reviewed those cases, did follow-ups, but it just eventually went cold. They could not find any type of link between Vicky's disappearance and those other cases.
But the setbacks only intensified their search.
You can tell from the size of the case file, the number of reports, the number of interactions, the number of leads that were chased down. A tremendous amount of work has gone into this case.
As the years went by, a new generation of law enforcement continued the pursuit.
I started working on it, started reviewing everything, names, looking for possibilities, links, other cases that might be similar.
With the emergence of DNA technology, forensic experts continuously tested the most promising evidence from Vicky's case.
With Vicky's dress, that dress had been subjected to several rounds of testing. We knew that semen had been identified on that dress. Unfortunately, we weren't able to develop a profile that was suitable for entry into a national database.
But police kept pushing.
And then we continuously reviewed the evidence, reviewed the case file, and kept working it.
As time went by, did you ever lose hope that your mother's case would be solved?
I'm thinking somebody will be held accountable. Somebody will, they'll catch someone who's done this. We hope they do. But the years go by and there's no progress. You hear nothing. And you're like, what's going on?
It would take a team of dedicated investigators and cutting-edge forensic advancements to put a cold-blooded killer behind bars.
I know he had 2 prior arrests for 2 homicides and I think 20 or 30 other arrests for various crimes, mostly drug-related. Oh, he's evil. He's an absolute evil person. I don't want to say human being. He's an evil person. Has no disregard for anybody's life.
Vicky's family held on to hope that one day law enforcement would provide them with the answers they so desperately needed.
I never felt frustrated because from all accounts, what was being done or could be done, I mean, that there was no, there were still efforts being made from what I heard from time to time. So, not frustrated so much, but I will say you do reach a point where you're like, you come to terms with this may never be solved. This may never happen. I won't say you make peace with it, you just come to the realization that that's very likely.
Criminal scientists continued their search for a break.
We learn about new technology, and we look and see if that new technology can be applied to particular cases and particular items of evidence.
And then they discovered a forensic technique called MVAC. So how does that technology work?
The MVAC is more of a collection technique, so it's like a vacuum for DNA, if you will. So the MVAC basically puts a fluid onto the fabric, and at the same time it's pulling that fluid back out, and it collects it onto a filter. So what you're actually doing is submitting the filter for DNA analysis.
They used the technique on Vicky's clothing.
We were able to get a full male profile from the slip.
The profile was immediately entered into CODIS, the national DNA database.
We had a hit, we had a name. I mean, it was just amazing.
His name was Andre Taylor, and when detectives dug into his background, they found a disturbing history of violence.
We found out he had 2 prior arrests for 2 homicides and I think 20 or 30 other arrests for various crimes, mostly drug-related.
And there was more. At the time of Vicky's murder, Taylor lived just a few miles away from where her body was found. Detectives located the 62-year-old and brought him into the interrogation room.
I showed him a picture of Vicky, and he says, "Nah, I've never seen that lady before. I don't know who she is." He was very adamant in denying that he had never seen her before.
His denials were critical to their case against him.
That was very important because it reduced the ability for him to explain why his DNA was found on Vicky's clothes. When he absolutely and adamantly declined and stated he did not know her and had never seen her before, that was very important.
It was then investigators confronted him with the DNA evidence that connected him to Vicky's homicide.
He denied having any involvement in Vicky's disappearance and death.
But as the pressure mounted, he slowly started to crack.
We continued to question him, and then eventually he admitted it was a rape.
So did he ever admit to committing her murder?
Once he admitted to raping her, I wanted to move on to, I needed to get him to confess, and I wanted him to confess to killing her. Once I started questioning a little more about that, that's when he said he didn't want to talk anymore. But he didn't provide any information about how Vicky had been abducted or how she ended up in that car.
June 22nd, after Taylor was indicted, our warrant fugitive unit, along with the United States Marshals Service Capital Area Regional Fugitive Task Force and members of the Metropolitan Police Department, arrested Taylor. Taylor is currently being held without bond.
Andre Taylor was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. What went through your mind when you learned what happened?
That faith, all thanks to God. I can't, it's a miracle. It's, the cloud is lifted somewhat. But in that moment, it was just pure joy and elation.
But at his trial, Taylor entered a plea of not guilty.
Oh, it was horrible. That he wasn't going to accept responsibility. He had no incentive. Having to go through all that was very hard.
Prosecutors presented their theory of how the crime unfolded.
We know at some point, it's more than likely when she was going back to get her car from the parking lot near the Metro, as far as when she crossed paths with Andre Taylor. I think we all suspect that's more than likely when that occurred.
After a 9-day trial and approximately 2 hours of deliberation, a jury convicted Andre Taylor of first-degree murder. At his sentencing, Vicky's son, Lamont, delivered an emotional victim's impact statement. What did you want Andre Taylor to hear?
That no matter how horrible what he did to her and how he did it and all the horrible things, that he could do whatever it was to her body, and he did, but he couldn't touch her soul. Her soul lives on, her soul was secure.
And did Andre ever even show any sign of remorse?
Oh, no. No remorse.
Vicky's family will be forever grateful to law enforcement for never giving up.
They didn't know my mother. They didn't. They never knew her. They had no connection with her other than there was someone who was viciously murdered and assaulted, and justice needed to be served. And so much credit to them, all credit. I can't thank them enough. The gratitude is forever and eternal. Those investigators, those people in 1979 who responded to the scene. In 1979, when there was no DNA and they collected the evidence and they preserved that evidence, the people that worked in the property room, they preserved the evidence. People retired, people died, but that evidence was maintained. I mean, how can you not applaud, thank them? I mean, and I don't have the proper words to express the gratitude.
After Vicky's tragic murder, the Belk family initiated a scholarship to honor her passion for education. The Vicki Lynn Belk Foundation was created to assist in raising funds for graduating seniors who attend her church. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Shockingly, statistics show that 20% of all violent crimes occur in parking lots and garages. To help reduce your risk in these areas, safety experts recommend you stay alert and locate your keys before heading to your vehicle. Keep your finger next to the button to unlock your car doors or to activate the alarm in the event of emergency. Whenever possible, park close to the entrance and in well-lit areas. And if there is a security guard on site, ask them to escort you to your car if you feel unsafe. And finally, know how to activate your smartphone's built-in emergency SOS system so you can quickly call the police in the event of danger. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.